Hello and welcome to our 11th session wherein we are going to discuss about images and lighting. Those are the other two options that we have to discuss in this add menu. Now coming back to Blender, I will come to the scene, press X and delete this cube. Then come to add, image, and in this you have three options: reference, background and mesh plane. First, if you take the reference, I will click on the reference and it is asking me to provide an image file. I have provided you with an image file in the download link and also in the video description on YouTube. And once you download this image, say for example, I have an image of a company called Amtech and this company logo. So I will select this logo and I am going to insert it. So now you are seeing this image inserted. Now when you are using this image as a reference, now if you come to the options over here, you can see now you have depth, default and side both set, so that if I press middle click and rotate about, in all the views I can see this. Say I can see it from all the views. But this is not correctly aligned. So to correctly align it, I will press X and delete it. I will press numpad 1 and come into the front view, and in the front view, now this time I will come into add, image, and I am going to choose instead of reference the background option. And when I choose the background option and if I select the same logo, the only difference now here is in the properties of this image tag. It can be seen only in the front view and the depth is set to back. Now what happens is, if I middle click and rotate it in any other angle, see the image becomes invisible. But if I press 1 and come into the front view, only in the front view I can see this image. And this is the difference between adding image as a reference and adding image as a background. In the image data property, in the very first you have display as and as image, and if you click on it, you can now understand that this image reference is nothing but an empty, and this empty is holding an image. So you have all the options available here which you see it in add empty. So all this and this option is the same. So now we are only using the image, and if I come to cube, see this becomes a cube empty. So if I come to image, this becomes an image reference. Now I have added this image as a background, and when I am turning it I am not able to see it, and if I want to see it, see here I have an option of show in perspective. If I enable it, just like image reference, I can see it from all the angles. However, if I press numpad 1 and see it from the front angle, I can see it. But if I press Ctrl 1 and going to the back view, I am not able to see the image. So if I come back here and in the side, if I enable both, now I see it both from the front view, Ctrl 1 from the back view. So from both the view, it is now visible. And why do we use this image references? Sometimes you have a reference image using which you want to trace and create an object. Say for example, I want to create a 3D logo of this Amtech. I will press numpad 1, come into the front view, and now I have to create this logo. Then I can use this empty. Then I am now going to come into add, and I am going to come into curve and add any of the curve over here. Say for example, I will add the curve Bezier. So once I add this curve, I will press tab and come into edit mode. I will press A to select all the vertices, press X and delete the vertex. I have a Bezier curve in the outliner, but it contains nothing. Now I will come into the options. In the edit mode, you have one curve pen option. I will choose this. I will just zoom it in, and with shift middle mouse I will pan it and I will start clicking and tracing this. So, if I click here, I will click here and I will click here, I will click here, finally come to the selection tool and select both these edges together and press F to connect it. So, now if I come here and if I switch off empty, you can now see this has been traced as a path. Now, again I will enable empty. Now, again I am going to start from here and I am going to start a new path. I will click here, then here, then here, then here. So, I am going to trace it. Then I will come here to the selection tool, with shift pressed I select both the ends and press F. Now, if I switch off empty, you can now see that I have traced this A. Now, in this way, you can keep tracing this and you can trace this entire artwork. I will enable empty again. Similarly, I will trace M, E, T, E, K and I can recreate this shape. So, if you feel comfortable to trace it in Illustrator or CorelDRAW, then what you can do is, you can trace this in Illustrator or CorelDRAW and save it as an SVG file. SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics. And now, instead of tracing this, I will now first come into object mode. Then I will select the empty here, press X and delete. I will also select this Bezier curve, press X and delete. I can come into file and I can come into import, and here you have Scalable Vector Graphics SVG. I am going to click on this, and now I already in Illustrator have already traced this logo and I have saved it as an SVG file. I have this Amtech logo.svg. This link I have provided to you in the description, and also in Blender Studio you have this link. Now, if you download this and if you import it, now what happens is, if you come over here, this has created a collection called Amtech logo.svg and you have so many curves added. Select the first curve, with shift press I select all the curves, and right now it is in the top view. If I press 7, in the top view you can see. In Blender, whatever we import, by default it gets imported in the top view. It will be top view facing. Now, I want this to be front view facing, means I will press numpad 1 and then I have to press R, X and rotate it by 90 degree and press enter. So, now you have all these curves imported from software like Illustrator. Come here and press numpad period to zoom it, then I will right click and here you have an option join. The keyboard shortcut is Ctrl J. If I press Ctrl J or if I click join, all these curves are joined into one single curve. Now here I am going to double click on this curve and I am going to call this as Amtech, and you have this collection. This collection also I will double click it and I am going to call this as Amtech in capital X. Select this Amtech logo and if I press N, and in the item if you see its dimension, it is appearing very small. I want this to be big. With Amtech logo selected, I will press yes and type 10 and press enter, so that it is now scaled 10 times. Now I will zoom it out. I will press G, grab it and place it. So exactly, so I have roughly placed it little to the top. This is a 2D curve which we now have to convert it into 3D. I will come into the curve data properties, and in this I am going to open geometry, and in the geometry now, if required, I will come in the 3D view and rotate it and keep it at an angle like this. Along the extrude, I am going to click and extrude it. Instead of 0.01, I will make it 0.007. So if I come to the material properties and if I scroll up, you have this SVG material already applied here. So right now I will come here and I will press minus and I will delete it. Now I am going to create a new material and I am going to call this material as white. And for this material I will slightly add the metallic tint about 0.7. I will make it metallic, and roughness I will decrease it to 0.3. And now if I come and enable this texture shading, you can see how this is going to look. I will come into the base color and see that I have maximum white applied. However, in the logo, when we are seeing, we want only this area of the logo to be red. So to make it red, I am going to click plus here and I am going to create one more new material and I am going to call this material as red. And this time in the base color, I am going to select the red color that is used in the Amtech logo, and then in metallic I will set it again to 0.7 and roughness I will set it to 0.3. However, I want this material to be applied to only this part. So for that, with this Amtech selected, I will come into the edit mode, and in the edit mode I will press numpad 1. I will zoom it a little and I will come into the wireframe mode and I am going to select these 4 vertices. Again come back to texture mode again here, and now with this selected I will come to the material and click assign. So now only this area is assigned with red color. So I will press tab and come into the object mode. If you come back to add image, there is one more type of image present here which we call as the mesh plane. If I click on mesh plane image, in the link that I have provided to you, I have provided you with an image of a building. This is the actual Amtech building of Bangalore. I will select this building and if I click import, now you can see this has been imported, but it is imported in the side view. If I press 3, you can see this image. I will press 1 and come back. So to rotate it on my side, I will press rotate R, Z for the axis, and I will rotate it by 90 degree and press enter. Press yes and I will scale it some 5 times and make it bigger. This image what you are seeing is renderable. I can just double click here and I can give it the name background building, and if you open this and see it, see this is nothing but a simple plane. I am going to call this as mesh underscore background building, and then this one I want it to be placed in the scene collection, not inside this Amtech collection. So I will just drag it and put it inside the collection so that it is outside this Amtech collection. If I come into the camera view now and if I click on the render image button, you can now see the image that has been added as a plane will get rendered in our final render. Now the next thing here is I want this image that you are seeing to be linked to my camera. So for that I will press 7 and come into the top view. If required, I will move it slightly to the back like this. That is, I will come open this move and along the y axis I will move it approximately by around 3 meters to the back, and then I will press 1 and come into the front view, and if required I will press GZ and slightly move it to the top just over this x-axis here. You have the 3D object present here. I will now add a cube. I will come into this Amtech collection. I will press Shift A and in mesh I am going to add a cube. I will press S and I will scale it down. I will press GZ and move it up and place it somewhere here like this. Then I will press SX and I will scale it to the top. And I am going to call this as platform. Press middle mouse and I am going to rotate it. I will press Y and I will slightly scale it down a little like this. Then press GY and move it. If required, I will press 7 on number keyboard, come to the top view, and now I will move it and adjust it so that this Amtech logo is exactly at the center. I will select this logo and I will slightly move it to the right, and then I will again press 1 and come in the front, and I am going to drag this logo. I will press GZ and I will slightly move it to the bottom and rest it on the platform like this. So I will press Shift A and I am going to add a text, and again here I will press RX90 to turn the text towards me. Then I will press tab and I am going to delete this text, and I am just going to type I will press tab, will just drag it to the left a little like this, and I will put it to the top, but I want this I to appear in Times New Roman. So in that case, with its I selected, I will come to the font data here, and in font I will open this, and in the regular font I will click on this folder icon, and I am going to search here for Times font, and I am going to add the time font so that I have this in this shape. I will press S and scale it down approximately to the same size as this Amtech logo. So I will approximately scale it and make it the same size as this Amtech. I will come into the geometry and you have extrude. I will turn a little and I will click on extrude, and I will extrude it slightly like this. I will approximately extrude it. I will press 3 and C in the side view. If required, I will come into the wireframe view, and I am going to extrude it by around 0.11 meter so that it is almost the size of my Amtech logo. And then I am going to turn here, I'll come back into the texture view, and I will select this I, and I will come to material, and for this I am going to add the material white. Then I am going to name this as I underscore text. I will press Shift D and duplicate it. Along the X axis I will move it, and I want a heart logo here so that I can write it as I love Amtech. So for that I will come into my character map. I am now going to open this advanced view, and I will going to search for the heart. So in the character map I have the heart symbol here. I will select this, I will click select, I will copy this, I will close this, and now coming over here I will press tab, I will delete I, and I will press Ctrl V to place this heart shape. I will press tab and I will press 1 and come into the front view, and if required I will slightly make it bigger, and for this I will come into the material and I am going to apply the red material. So I have this I love Amtech placed in 3D in front of the building. So with this we have covered everything in this add image, and the next is we are going to add the lighting, because as of now we have the camera. If I press 0, this is the camera view, and if I render it, as of now you are seeing it with one single default light. So I will close this. Right now if you come into your collection, you can see one light present here. I will select this light and I am going to press delete. Inside this Amtech collection, I am now going to add different types of light. So for that I will press Shift A, and the first kind of light that you have is the point light. Now to see the effect of light in my scene, I have to come to this last shader, viewport shading, which is the render view, and in the render view now you can see the effect of light. See, now I have added a point light. As I move up, you can see the effect of this point light. I will move it to the left like this, and I will place it somewhere here like this, over this, in between I and love. In between this I am going to add this point light, and I am going to call this as point light 1. And if you come over to the data property of light now, here I can set its intensity. Right now it is 10 watts. As of now, let it be 10 watts only. I am going to select this and I am going to press Alt D and duplicate it, and along the x-axis I will move it somewhere here and I will add the second light, and I am going to call this as point light 2. Then I am again going to press Alt D to duplicate. Along the x-axis I will move this, and I am going to call this as point light 3. Remember, since we have duplicated it using Alt D, the basic light is the same. So that's why if I select one light and if I change its intensity to 25 now, automatically all other light intensity also becomes 25 watts. Then the second type of light that we are going to use is, say for example, I press numpad 1 and come into the front view, press Shift A, and this time in light I am going to add sun. And when I add sun, this is exactly similar to adding the sunlight in your scene. I will press GZ and move it a little like this. So as of now, you are not seeing any effect of this light, because if you come to the light property, its strength is just 1. But if I increase this strength to 50, then you can see it becomes brighter. If I make it 500, see how it is illuminated, and it gets illuminated just like sunlight. And here this sunlight, see, basically in our natural environment, sun rises from the east and moves towards the west, and the total movement of sun is 180 degree, and this angle we can control it here. If I type 0, this is at the exactly at 12 noon. If I type 90, see, this is coming exactly to the front. This is now exactly in front of the object. If I type 180, see, it goes to the other side. As of now, this is just for you to show I had used this light. I will just select this light, press X and delete it. The other type of light that we normally use is spotlight. So now I will press Shift A, come into the light, and I am going to add a spotlight. And now with the spotlight selected, I will press R, and along the Y axis I will rotate it like this by 180 degree. I will press numpad 3 and come into the side view, and I will select this spotlight, and if required I will move it and place it somewhere here. Then I will press R and rotate it like this. I will press 7 and come to the top view, and I am going to place this part. I will press GX and I will move it and place it for the letter I. And now if I press 1 and show it to you, so you can see a spotlight is moving over the letter 1. So if required I will move it slightly to down like this, slightly to X like this. So you have this is the other kind of light that we have, and you have various parameters that you can adjust for this light. Say I can adjust the color, power, then the radius. See the radius of this light, what should be the radius? This is the coverage area of the light. As I increase, the intensity will decrease, and then you can set its size. So this is the size. See, I can change the size of the spotlight, how much area the spotlight is falling. So right now it is set to 45 degree. I leave it as it is, and now I will come into the top view, and I am going to select this and press again Alt D, X, and I will move one more spotlight over here. To see this effect, I will come here to the right hand corner here. Once it becomes hairpin, I am going to drag another window here. Here also I will press here, middle mouse click and drag it, and I am going to enable texture view, and here I will come into the camera view, and then so that I can see how this looks inside the camera. So now you can see I and love sign is illuminated by these two spotlight. I will again come to this left view, I will press Alt D and I will move one more and I will place it here. So I am going to move it along the X axis and I am going to add some spotlights like this all over like this, so that you have some kind of illumination here. So if I come to render and if I render the image, see, you can see the spotlights falling on this. This is the third type of light that is available in Blender. I will come to add and I am going to add another type of light which is called as the area light. Now area light means I will come into front view here and if I move it to the top like this, see, this is an area light which is falling from this area. So I will press S and if required I will scale it and I will slightly, it is 10 watts, I will make it around 60 watts and I will give the illumination. So this is the fourth type of light available. This is called as the area light. The next component we have here is the light probes. We are going to discuss about this light probe in our future classes. What does the light probe do is, sometimes when you are using a mirror and you are seeing something inside the mirror, then you want some objects backside to be visible in the mirror correctly, means we use this light probe. And this light probe is a little advanced subject which we are going to deal with in our future classes. So right now I am just going to show you that you have sphere, plane and volume, three types of light probes available. So as of now we are not going to use it. Then the next thing I have here is the camera. So we already have one camera added in our scene. I will just now adjust this location something like this, and I have already told you in the last class, if you come to view and align view, and if I choose align active camera to view, then this will be the camera view. So if I want to adjust this, I will come into view, I will switch on camera to view. Now I will zoom it if required and I will press middle mouse and I will turn it. With shift middle mouse I will pan it. I will press N and close this tab temporarily. With shift middle mouse I will pan it, and if I now render this image, so this is the camera image that we are seeing. So like this, if you want to add one more additional camera, you can come into add and you can add additional cameras. And apart from this, you can add a speaker. So for example, I can add a speaker here, and if you come to the settings, I can open an MP3 file and I can make an audio play in my 3D environment. For this we use the speaker. So right now we are not going to use it. I will press X and delete it, and then I will press N and close the side tab. So right now what I will do is, I will come over here and when it turns crosshair, I will drag it and make it one single screen. Then I will press 1 and come into the front view, which I am going to add a new object, a UV sphere. I will press S and I will scale it down like this. I will just press G and move it and place it here. I will press S and scale it down, and say for example I place this in between this I love, I place it at this point. I will press S and make it small, and I will keep it here, just here. I will come to the top view and keep it at the center like this. And for this sphere, I am going to come into the particles. So I will come to particles now, and I am going to add a particle. So when I add the particle and if I play it, you can see the particles coming out from there. See, you can see how the particle is moving out from there. Now, as of now, this particle, what is happening to the particle? All the particle is falling down. Now, I want this particle to blow to the right side like this. So in that case, I can come to add and I can choose this force field, and you have various types of force field. Say for example, I will use the wind. So, you have the wind force field now. I will press G and bring it over here, and I will press R and I will slightly rotate it like this, so that the wind is flowing like this. So, now I will come into this physics. Coming into physics, you have the strength. I will increase the strength, and now if I rewind and if I play this, now you can see that how it is blowing away. So, now I will come to top view and it is blowing like this. So, if required I can bring this G and move it here, press R and rotate it like this, and now if I move back and if I play it, you can now see how the particle is blowing. See how the particle is blowing. See, you can see this. So, now I can increase the strength and make it blow faster or make it blow lesser. So, like this I can control this, or I can press R and as I rotate it blows in different directions like this. So, for this, to add this kind of force fields, we are going to make use of this force field. Now, apart from this, you can also see here the various type of force that we can apply. I will click play here, and as it is playing, in type right now it is in wind, I will change it to bold. See how it changes. I will change it to charge. If required, I will press 7, come into the top view, press G and place this force over here, press numpad 1 and come over here, and I will place it here to show you different kind of effect. Then you have curve guide wherein moves across a curve, then you have different effects, then you have drag effect. See how this is going to create a drag effect as it is moving. Then you have fluid flow. So, this appears like a fluid is flowing out. Then you have force. So, I can apply force. See, I can apply the force in any direction and I can actually make it move. Next, you have harmonic, where it is moving in a harmonic way. If I middle click mouse and show it to you, see how the particle is moving in harmonic way. Then you have the Leonard-Jones effect, see how it is going to move in this. Then you have magnetic. So, these things we are going to discuss it in detail later. So, this is the magnetic effect. Then I also have textured effect, which I will come to that later. Then you have turbulence. So, this is going to create turbulence. If I press G and move it over to the bottom, and if I increase the strength of the turbulence, see how this is going to react. Then you have vortex. This is going to actually now move in the vortex form. I will press R and rotate it, and I will show it to you how this is actually moving. So, I will reduce the speed a little and I can show it to you. And then you have the wind. So, these are all the different kind of effects that you see here. So, I will rotate it again like this. I will place it here. I will press 7. I will press G, move it like this, and I can place it like this, so that the wind, the particles are moving in this direction. And I will press 0 and come into the camera view. I will just going to stop the playback, and I will just rewind it back to frame 1. And now the last thing I have here is, if I come to add and if I choose collection instance, I am now going to add AmpText, and you have all the objects present in this AmpText. I can just now scale it down, and I can just move it, I can just rotate it like this, and you can see now these instances are added over here. See, you can see an instance of this added over here. So, like this we can add an instance of a collection using this add. I will again click on delete hierarchy. So, this completes this session, wherein we have now explored all the components of this add tool. I want you to take this as an assessment, and I want you to create your own logo with this. Add a platform, put I love and the logo, and create this and submit it as an assignment. So, finally here I will come here and choose file, save as. I am going to name this as 16 underscore image light force example, and I am going to save this. So, in our next session, we are going to discuss about one last topic in this object mode, and that is about the 3 buttons that you see at the top, that is the transform orientation, pivot point and proportional edit. These 3 we are going to discuss it in our next session. Thank you.